Welcome back to Hattrick HQ. We're doing something a little bit different here today. Me and Mark decided that we'd put up a little live stream for you guys. I know this might be something different than what you're expecting. Maybe you're expecting an 8-minute long video, but me and Mark are just testing something out here. We figured we want to get on with you guys, interact with you guys live. We got a few things that we want to talk about here today. Obviously, we're going to talk about the Leafs. We talked about the Leafs quite a bit on the channel, so if you have any questions about the Leafs, about anything that's going on in the NHL, make sure to throw it down in the chat right now. I will be answering all your guys' questions. It's just nice to get to chat to you guys in real time. We see you guys down in the comment section below, so we figured we'd go live today and say what's up to you guys in real time. We also want to talk about how most of the Canadian teams are struggling right now. We will get to that a bit later on. But first, we're going to talk about Alex Debrincat, who is showing some shocking improvements so far through this year. Detroit right now is on such a heater. I know me and Mark did predict that they would have this hot start, and we just didn't think it would be this hot. I think this guy has like 8 goals so far this season. He leads the league. It just seems like I think his hometown kid is just enjoying playing in Detroit so much.
Yeah, no, Detroit looks incredible so far. I mean, you look at Debrincat, like you said, what is he up to now? 9 goals? It's something incredible, and he's playing on the line with Larkin. Overall, seems like Yzerman did make the right moves this offseason. Like you said, they're on a heater now. I think they're one of the top teams in the Atlantic, and overall, they're looking just almost poised to make the playoffs, which is awesome for Detroit fans because it's been a couple seasons since then.
Yeah, definitely. And, the Yzer plan was a little bit long in the making, but it seems like it's paying off for Detroit right now. DeBrincat has 13 points so far. I believe Larkin has 14 with 10 power play points. This guy's playing unreal too. I love that guy. Such a great skater. I think this Detroit team is really going to surprise a lot of people. They already are, but I do really think that they're going to stay consistent and maybe take that playoff spot away.
Yeah, no, it's kind of funny too when you look at Justin Holl being one of the best plus minuses in the league. I guess Detroit kind of found the right ground for him where you're not playing him as the top 4 guy. It's more of a sheltered bottom pairing guy. But overall, yeah, like Detroit, like you said, Detroit looks great. The forwards are doing good. The defense is playing well. And the goaltending in Husso looks great. So overall, yeah, no, I think they're going to be pushing for the playoffs. It's interesting to see how far they can go with kind of the Atlantic and the entire East being almost stacked. But they do look good. And it's not just a boomer bust this year. They have such a young talent. Larkin's only, what is it, 27, 28. Same with DeBrincat. So you still have this young core, and they're just pushing for greatness at this point.
Yeah, definitely. I see you down there, Daniel. What's up, man? Thanks for stopping by. And Marcel, too. We see you down there, too. Thanks, guys, for joining into the live. Thanks. I know Daniel's been a day one supporter. It's great to see you down there, Daniel. Any questions you have, guys, just fire them down there in the comment section below. But back to Detroit, like you said, Mark, Ville Husso was a guy who who's been on my watch list for quite a while now, and I believe, if I'm just looking at my notes here, he's 3-1-1 so far with an 8.93 save percentage. Such a great goaltender. I still think he has a lot to prove, and he has a lot left in the tank. And this Detroit team is really gonna start to skyrocket here over the next 2 weeks, as they already are. But guys like Lucas Raymond and these guys too, they're just bound to break out as well. Mo Sider on the back as well. I just think this team has such a deep roster, and Yzerman has done such a great way to shape this team going into the future.
Yeah, no, that's the big thing. Like I said, it's not boom or bust. This is, build this, get playoff experience. Don't beat the Leafs. That kind of suck for me and other Leafs fans. But overall, it'd be an interesting matchup. I'd like to see the two go head to head. I know it's already going to happen. Justin Holl scores a game-winning goal in Game 7. Poetic justice in Round 1 against the Leafs. But overall, yeah, no, I love Detroit. I think it's going to be a fun team to watch. I think it's going to be an entertaining season for them. And it's, like I said, it's just interesting to see how they unfold this season.
Yeah, Mark, we always like to admit when we're wrong, and we were really wrong about the Boston Bruins. We expected them to drop right out of the playoff picture, and they proved us wrong by going 6-0-0 to start the year. I guess we're just going to bite our tongue here because Boston's the same. Mark's playing unreal. Could be up there for a Vezina at the end of the year if he keeps playing this way.
Yeah, that's the thing. When I seen him lose Bergeron and Krejci, I was like, hey, they got to fall off. What do they have? Charlie Coyle and Pavel Zacha, which are good centers. I mean, it's not like they're bad or anything. But when you lose a Selke winner and a guy like Krejci, that's just a veteran, he knows how to win in this league, you'd expect a drop off. But Pasta looks insane. Charlie McAvoy and the goaltending's just been on their head, and not in a way of like, oh, they need to kind of make these saves, but they've just been overall outstanding all around. And it hurts to say, but they do look like a bit of a bandwagon at the moment with how good they're playing.
Yeah, definitely, Mark. I don't mean to interrupt you here, but we got our first donation down here in the chat. Thank you, James. I really appreciate it for the dono. Our first ever one. Don't really know how to react to that. I mean, just thank you so much. We weren't expected here to get any donations today. We just wanted to come on, talk to you guys, chat some hockey. So if you got any hockey questions, throw them down there. Anything doesn't really matter. We see all you guys down there. Thanks, Nick. Court Chronicles shout out. One of my favorite basketball channels to go to, just starting out. So make sure to check them out down there in the comments or down in the chat. I always see you down there. The boys know what they're talking about. We are. We are. But we're gonna get into some Canadian teams that are struggling right now, Mark. And one team that I know that you that you don't take a fine liking to is the Edmonton Oilers, and they are really on the struggle bus right now to begin the year.
Yeah, no, like losing McDavid for the 1 to 2 weeks is massive. I mean, we kind of looked at the team. They look good. I mean, you look at it, Ron Nugent Hopkins had 100 points. Settles his same old, same old. McDavid came off a 150 point season. So the team should be good, but it's almost strange where they picked up Ekholm to kind of help with the defense. They still have Darnell Nurse. Evan Bouchard's incredible, in my opinion. But the goaltending's the biggest thing. I mean, you've seen Jack Campbell flourish in Toronto. He's had a rough kind of go since he got to Edmonton. I think one of these goalies have to turn it around. I can't see the Oilers missing the playoffs, but overall, yeah, it's a bit of a concerning start just losing all these games in a row, losing your best player and the best player in the league, and just having to fight out of this hole is the biggest problem from at this point.
Yeah, definitely. They're in a deep hole right now, but I really think with the roster they got, they can really dig out of this hole that they're in. When McDavid gets back, obviously he's out right now. It just sucks that he's out because he's one of my favorite players, the best player in the NHL. But it seems like Draisaitl's after stepping up here a little bit to begin the year. He leads in the Oilers in goals, assists, and points. He has 4 goals, 7 assists, 11 points. And Soupy is having a little bit of rough start here, Mark. I know you like Soup when he was in Toronto. Well, I'm a big Soupy guy too, but I know he's 1-3 to start the year with an 8.77. But I really do think that this guy's a great goaltender and that he will start to pick it up. I think once this team kind of gets back, kind of gets healthy, gets on the roll, gets on a win roll a little bit here, gets the ball rolling. I really do think that they'll start to dig themselves out of that hole, and maybe they'll steal a playoff spot by the end of the year. I really do. I really don't think we see the Edmonton Oilers not in the playoffs next or this offseason.
Yeah, that's a big thing. I think they do make it. It's almost weird when you look at the Leafs goaltending throughout the years because Campbell looked incredible on the Leafs. He went on and he didn't play too well. Jonathan Bernier was the same way. Freddie Anderson is holding his own, but I mean, Carolina is one of the best defensive teams in the league. But it's kind of strange to seeing how Toronto has never been this powerhouse on defense, but they almost make these goalies look incredible. Not saying these goalies are bad. I mean, they're all starting goalies around the league, but it's just almost interesting to see a guy like Campbell be on the Leafs with, I think it was a 920 save percentage, and just to drop off so much once he got this deal with Edmonton. So it's almost interesting to see, can he get back to his form? I know he's a former LA goalie, and they almost had a bunch of guys that just came out. Martin Jones looked great when he first left LA, then he kind of fell off. Same with Campbell. So it's almost like the trend of LA goalies leaving LA, going to a new team. They start to falter when they get to that second team after LA. So we'll see if Campbell can almost just break that streak.
Yeah, I definitely think he can. I think he's a great goalie. I think he just needs. I think all these goalies kind of get in their head a little bit when they're struggling a little bit. So I think once he breaks out of that, I think he'll start to have a great season. I think Edmonton will come around. But we're gonna get into another team here who's kind of struggling. That's the Calgary Flames. I know one of my buddies is a really big Calgary Flames fan. He's really disappointed at how they started this year. 2-4-1. It's not horrible, but Mangiapane is having a great start to the year. 3 goals, 3 assists. He leads Calgary in points right now. I think once Calgary starts to get going a little bit, they are dealing with got one guy on suspension right now and a couple injuries. But I think once Huberdeau and these guys start clicking over there in Calgary this year, I think they'll get the ball rolling too.
Yeah, you kind of seen too. Zadorov came out and had a interview, I think it was yesterday, day prior, where he just kind of talked where a lot of guys were playing selfish. It wasn't a lot of team play. If anyone's used to this channel, you know I love Zadorov. I hope this chemistry doesn't get together, so we end up getting him on the Leafs. But overall, Calgary should be a good team. I mean, you look at a guy like Lindholm, Huberdeau, Nazem Kadri, the guys like Noah Hannafin on defense, Anderson, who is suspended, which is hurting my fantasy team as well, and a guy like Markstrom, Dan Villard. You have so many talented guys on this roster that it's kind of weird. I know it's early season. A lot of teams have ups and downs till chemistry really builds. But overall, I think this team should get things kind of figured out. If not, brings the door off to the Leafs. I'd love that. I'd buy his jersey immediately. But overall, no, I think they're a playoff team, but they are struggling quite bad.
Yeah, definitely. Really hope they pick it up because I know there's a lot of Flames fans out there who really want to see them have a successful season. But we just gotta give some shout outs here in the chat right now. Shout out to you, Shane. Shout out to you, Gavin. A couple of our buddies down there in the chat right now. Obviously, Daniel's down there. Tyler's down there. If you guys got any questions that you want to throw by us, go ahead, pop them down there. We'll answer all your questions. Doesn't matter what it is. Throw it down in there. That's what we're here for. Mark, we're going to get probably into what you want to talk about here today, and that is the Leafs. The Leafs are on fire right now, starting season 4-2. They're on quite a streak right now, and they played such a great game against the Capitals the other night. Austin Matthews, I believe, has 7 goals right now. Mark, I just want to give you the floor. You just talk about the Leafs right now.
I mean, I've loved talking about him. So you kind of look at last game. I mean, Joseph Woll stood on his head. What was it, 40 shots against or high 30s? When watching the game, he stood on his head. You've seen a lot of just highlight reel saves from him. He looked comfortable, and just overall, it looks like he is the goalie of the future. I know earlier on in the season, we kept talking about him being the playoff starter. I think he's almost just going to take the season starter at this point. You see Nylander take over the game a little bit too. It was kind of cool seeing that he passed Phil Kessel in goals for the Leafs. So that's a little shout out for him. You see him getting through it. He's having a hot year. I wonder if his contract dollars are going up. So hopefully they figure that out soon. But it was a good team play. They did get shelled a bit with shots on net. It didn't help with Ovi having, 12 shots he finally scored. A classic Leafs, just breaking these curses of guys not scoring or rookies getting their first goals. But I thought they played a good game. Woll looked incredible, and the team started to gel a lot. Tyler Bertuzzi looked a little shaky again. I know there was one where Nylander passed in front and he kind of just gave up on a one-timer and just kind of played with it for a minute. But I think the team's looking good. I'd give it another week till they're looking in full season form. And I think they're going to roll through the Atlantic. I think they do pass the Bruins and hopefully win the President's Trophy.
Yeah, definitely. And I got to agree with Nick down here in the chat. The Leafs are pretty good. I know one guy that's going off for them right now is JT, the captain. I believe I'm just looking at my notes here. He has 10 points right now, 3 goals, 7 assists. I think it's just great to see John Tavares get back into his old game, kind of get back in his bag and just start dishing out these points to the younger guys. And I really like that line of him and Nylander this year. I think that's such a lit line, for lack of a better word. And I think by throwing that Matthew and Eyes up there on that line, I think that line's just going to be a powerhouse for the Leafs to rolling on through the season.
Yeah, the big thing too, signing Tavares, I think it was a 5 or 6 year deal when we first got him. We were kind of expecting the last 2 years for him to kind of not fall off, but slow down in production. But I mean, you look at that, what did you say, 10 points in the first 6 games? So I'm happy with that. I think at the end of this, not next season, but the season after, when they do re-sign him, I think it will be a hometown discount, maybe something like Bergeron signed, or a multi-year deal at maybe 4, 5, 6 million. So that does free up cap. I mean, he's playing incredible. Same with Nylander. And just overall, like I said, the team is gelling. I think a guy like Zadorov, of course, filling in this defense would look great. But I'm excited for the season. I think Woll's going to take over, and I think the Leafs have big things in the future this year.
Yeah, they've been some great games to watch so far through the beginning of this season, and I really do think that's going to continue. We're going to take a look at the chat here, and Tyler says Yarncroke and Gregor more minutes? Question mark. I think out of these two guys, the person who I would probably give a bit more minutes to is Noah Gregor. We have seen him kind of start the season out hot. A guy who was signed to a PTO, came in, scored game 1, has been playing really well down on that fourth line with Ryan Reeves. But I do think we will see him start to slide up and down this lineup. Maybe not at the beginning of the game, but like mid game or towards the end of the third or whatever, when you're looking for a goal and your big guys are tired, you need to rest them. I think we could see this guy maybe step up, maybe into that third line role, maybe even into the second line role, depending on how the game's going and depending on what Keith's mindset is. But I really do like Noah Gregor. He uses speed to the best of his ability, and his shot is just a rocket.
Yeah, no, that's the thing. You look at Gregor, his offense has never always been consistent. But if you look at his season, I think it was last year with the Sharks before they didn't retain him for some reason. He went on a big goal streak to end the season. So I mean, if this guy wants to get super hot, score a lot of goals at the end of the Leafs season, going into the playoffs, super down for that. I mean, that's what we need in the postseason. But I think he's a great guy. Shows his speed, physicality. He's fought this year. I think he's a guy you could easily slide up into the lineup at some point. But Yarncroke's this guy who was a previous 20 goal scorer. I think he could fit in the top six. I know the Leafs lines were Yarncroke on the top with Matthews, Marner. He's a really defensive guy. He has a tiny bit of speed. He can score. He gets into the corners. And overall, I do like his game a lot. I could see him filling out the top six, maybe dropping Bertuzzi down into the bottom six if that doesn't really pick up a lot. But overall, I think there's so many guys, especially if you look in the AHL too. You have so many options to move up and down this Leafs lineup in case of an injury or in a sense if you move someone. But like I said, I think either guy can move up. I think they're both going to have good seasons. And I could see Yarncroke maybe scoring 20, 25 goals this year.
Yeah, he's definitely looking really good there to start the season. We're going to throw back to another chat question here coming from Gavin. He says, the best fantasy sleeper. And I'm going to put you guys on right now. My best fantasy sleeper right now is Wyatt Johnston. That guy is going off for me right now. I think I picked him up the second last round of the draft. He's playing really well. I think he might be playing second line in Dallas. I think he's having such a great year down there. And I think he's just going to continue it up. Maybe we might see him hit maybe 60, 70 points this year is my prediction. So if you don't have him, if nobody has him in your league, make sure to go pick him up right now.
Yeah, no, Wyatt looked good in the playoffs last year too. He was coming in as a rookie. He's going to have a bigger, just kind of role this year with the team. I think he's a guy that, yeah, could be cement your second line, get 50, 60 points. For my sleeper is Joseph Woll. I picked him up just before last game. I mean, I won that in the end. It was 9-7-3 save percentage. He looked incredible. But there's a lot of guys that sleep under the radar, especially these young guys. Maybe Fantelli's still floating around. It's just these guys you can pick up with so much upside, especially if you're in a keeper league. Aim for someone young that's going to put up points and just to the moon with them.
Yeah, definitely. Another guy who's been going after me a waiver wire pickup is Jonas Johansson on Tampa Bay. I picked him up. Devin Levi went out, so I picked him up. He went out, put up 55 saves against Toronto, and then last night he put up a shutout. So I don't think that guy's going anywhere for my team anytime soon.
No, definitely not with Vasilevsky gone.
Yeah, definitely not. I think it's just crazy to me that a fourth string goalie for the Avs is coming in, just getting the starter job on a team like Tampa and just going off right now. Oh, we see you down there, Pat G. What do you at? We love seeing you guys down there in the comment section. You and Daniel and some of the other guys that are in here. So shout to you guys for dropping into the live here. And yeah, Shane says Clayton Keller's been unreal for him. He's been playing great. Pretty much the only Coyotes player that is any good. Sorry to say that, but he is having a great year. I forgot about the best prospect in the league, Logan Cooley as well. But I really do think that Arizona's on the way up too. I'm really enjoying watching their games. Honestly, I'm after tuning into a couple, and they're just fun games to watch because you don't expect them to win the game, but then they just start going off and they pull off a win.
Yeah, you look at Vemelkovic too. When he plays the Leafs, he looks like a Vezina kind of the best goalie in the league. I know Leafs fans have felt it seeing Arizona walk into Toronto and somehow win the game 1-0 or 2-1. So I think Arizona's a team that's up and coming. They have a lot of fun players. I don't think they're close to being contenders, but hopefully they do get everything figured out, get this team back into the playoffs, and maybe win a Stanley Cup in the next maybe 5, 7, 10 years.
Yeah, I hope so. I really like Coyotes, like their jersey, like the culture around Mullet Arena. I think they are really building a solid young team down there, and I think in a couple of years we'll definitely see them start to compete again. And it's just nice to finally see them start to compete after the era of Shane Doan and all these guys. But Mark, I'm gonna phrase a question to you here now. If you were the GM of the Toronto Maple Leafs for one day, what is the move or signing that you would make?
I mean, I think the obvious one is getting Sidorov. I mean, I've talked about him a bunch. He's 6'6", 250 pounds. He's everything you want in a defenseman. But overall, if I didn't have to really put a name to it, I'd want maybe a more physical guy. If we're not going for Sidorov, maybe just someone else that could fill in the physicality, maybe on the bottom pairing, and then maybe a depth scorer. You see a team like I don't know, the Sharks, where they have a guy like Mike Hoffman. His defense isn't there, but he's a guy that could score 30 goals. So maybe try to get him for the low 50% retained, maybe bounce him to the second team to get 75 retained fully. But this is a guy you could fill into your bottom six, maybe put him with Domi, where he could score, his 30, 35 goals. I mean, I think that just bolstered the Leafs bottom six.
Yeah, I can't believe you didn't say Phil Kessel. That's who I thought you were gonna say, but that's who I'm picking if I'm the Leafs GM for a day. I'm picking up Kessel. I know I just want to see him back in Toronto again. Honestly, he got 3 cups now. Maybe he can get the fourth one with Toronto. I think that'd be really cool. But if I was the Habs GM for the day, and I had a trade on my table and it could just go through, I think Devin Levi needs to be a Hab. He's the future of goaltending in the NHL, and I think you throw everything but the kitchen sink to get this guy. I think you throw Lane Hudson, you throw Caden Primo, you throw picks at him, because this guy is the next Carey Price. I'm calling it. Book it right now. He is the next best goaltender in the NHL. Get him to Montreal right now.
I think Joseph Woll's the next goaltender. I mean, you've seen Domi say he reminds him a lot of Price. But I mean, if Devin Levi and Joseph Woll want to be the two heads of the league when they finally get their full breakout, I'd be completely happy with it because both goalies are great.
Yeah, definitely. And I've been a big fan of Kent Hughes and what he's done in Montreal. This team's really fun to watch this year. Starting the year 3-2-1, I couldn't believe it. I wasn't expecting a hot start like this. But Tanner Pearson, that trade is working out right now for both teams. Tanner Pearson playing really well in Montreal, 3 goals. Casey DeSmith's playing really well in Vancouver as well. He has 2 wins. He's playing unreal there. I think that 1-2 punch of Thatcher Demko and Casey DeSmith's really going to work out for Vancouver this year. But back to Montreal, Jake Allen's been playing unreal. Wasn't really expecting it going into the season. I really thought Montembeault was going to take over that starting role. And even Caden Primo last night, I know he did let 5 in, but man, he made the save of the year last night. I think this guy is a great young prospect as well. Montreal's on the come up. Caulfield's got 6 points, 3 goals, 47 more to 50. Come on, let's get it.
I'm excited to see all these debates now with the Matthews and Caulfield first to 50. I think it will be Matthews, but you look at Cole Caulfield, I mean, he's a great scorer. He's a guy that's fast. He's not physical, but you still need players. He reminds me almost of a Martin St. Louis. It's a guy that uses his size, not in a way of, oh, he's huge, but he uses a small size to get around the ice. He can still score, he can pass. And with his development, I think he's a guy that could definitely hit 40 goals, maybe even the 50 plateau. And it's just exciting for Montreal where they have all these prospects. I know it's going to be a down year. It's not going to be a playoff year. But I mean, the Leafs have went through these rebuilds. And with the Habs, they have more of a exciting team where the Leafs had a situation where they had P.A. Parento, just an old version of himself playing our top line with a guy like Daniel Winnick, which really wasn't fun to watch.
Yeah, I do agree that I don't think there's going to be much of a race between Caulfield and Matthews. Matthews has already had 7 goals, and I think he's going to hit 50 before Caulfield, obviously. But I do think Caulfield's going to hit 50. Call me delusional if you want. I know Daniel's calling me crazy down in the comment section right now. But yeah, I know. Yeah, I know my Habs have enough goalies, but what's one more? I want to carry Price back in Montreal. And shout out to Raptors Digest in the chat. If you're looking for Raptors content, make sure to go check his channel out. He does a great job over there at Raptors Digest about putting everything out, what's going on, going around with the Raptors, as well as Jays Digest is down there too. Sorry that the Jays got put out, but I was really rooting for them this year. But they're a great home to Jays content. Make sure to check them out too. And we're just looking at the at the chat here. Patrick G says Brendan Montour. I know that's Mark's favorite player.
I don't mind Montour. I think he's a great guy. He's physical. It's just if you watch the Leafs versus Panthers, I was just sick of every second, third time zooming up, it was almost like Taylor Swift at the Kansas City game. They just kept zooming up on this guy. He kind of gave the Leafs a hard time. I think he's a great player, but it's one of those things where he screwed the Leafs over. Not a fan of him, but I think he'd fit perfectly on this team, honestly.
Man, I'll never forget that, man. We're sitting down watching the game, and we counted how many times Sportsnet showed Brandon Montour. I think it was like 50 times they showed him on the camera. They love this guy. They give him a lot of airtime. Yeah, shout out to, I know Daniel is all love, man. I know there's a lot of people down here right now. There's a lot to go through. Yeah, Montreal is going to have an exciting team this year. They are young. They got a lot of prospects. Lane Hudson, David Reinbacher, obviously not playing this year, but they are great as well. They got Owen Beck, another great guy. Joshua Waugh, who's lighting it up in the AHL right now. The Montreal Canadiens are on the come up. They're soon going to be competing. Maybe in the next couple of years. Maybe with a big signing, big trade. Maybe we can see it happen. But if they get Devin Levi, they're a playoff team. Book it right now. I'm calling it. I know I'm saying his name a lot, but I really love Devin Levi. I love how he just meditates during TV timeouts. I think that's amazing. I just really like this guy. I think Buffalo's going to have a great year. Tage Thompson is playing unreal. He tried to go between the legs the other night. That was unreal. Did you see that?
Yeah, I did. I mean, Buffalo just looks fun altogether. I mean, you got, like you said, Tage Thompson. Darlene looks incredible. Devin Levi, such a young and exciting goalie. And it's one of these things where, like, when Jeff Skinner, Alex Tucks, when all these guys start to get their groove, things going again, I think it's going to be fun. I don't know if anyone's seen Jeff Skinner. He scored his first goal against Montreal and had a High School Music song as his goal song. I think it's just a fun, exciting team. Obviously, Toronto fans can't go down to their arena. Well, they could, but it's harder to get tickets for now. But I think it's a fun team. I think it'd be a fun atmosphere just to be at, watch the games, and I think they're going to be great in the next 1 to 2 years.
Yeah, definitely. And we're going to skip right on to Ottawa. Shout out to my pop. My pop's a huge Ottawa fan. He always wants me to do Ottawa videos. He texts me every day. He's like, come on, you got to do an Ottawa video. So I'm going to do a little Ottawa segment here. Ottawa, 3-3 to start the season. 10th in the East right now. I think they're having a solid year. Kachuk's leading the team, 4 goals. Tarasenko, what an ad. He's got 8 points so far, 3 goals, 5 assists. And Redley Gregg might be the story of the season for the Ottawa Senators. He's +7 right now, 1 goal, 4 assists. I believe this guy may be a rookie this year. Correct me if I'm wrong here, but I'm really big on the Ottawa Senators. This Atlantic Division is unreal right now. Detroit's playing unreal. Boston's playing unreal. Toronto. You got not New York. New York's in the Metro. But you got like Buffalo, who's having a good start, and Montreal's having a good start. This is going to be such a competitive division to start this year. But back to Ottawa. Ottawa's just having a great start. I love to see it because I always like to see the Ottawa Senators do good. They've always been right there every year, but they can never get that final push to finally get into the playoffs or finally make a deep run. And I really do think can you imagine if Alex Debrincat was on this team this year? They would be unreal right now. But I really do think that Tarasenko ad was unreal for the Ottawa Senators.
Yeah, no, Ottawa looks great. I mean, like I said, Brady Kachuk looks good. Giroux looks good. Sanderstrom looks incredible for them. I've been watching his games. He's fluent. He moves the puck well. He can shoot. He hops up on the rush. And I know when they signed this big extension, it was almost a situation of this is kind of risky. But if any indication of how he's playing so far this year, I think it's an absolute steal to have this guy locked up for that term.
Yeah, definitely have to agree with you. But Mark, there's a question down here from our boy Pat G. I know your second team is the Vancouver Canucks. He says, do you think Tyler Myers is a good ad for Toronto if Vancouver retains 50%?
Okay, so when you look at Tyler Myers, in a nutshell, he's a big guy. He can shoot, he can pass the puck, but the way I kind of think of him is a stretched out version of Justin Hull. You'll have stretches where this guy looks incredible, but then you have stretches where you're kind of looking at him and you're like, how are you on a team at this point? I think retain would be kind of nice if you can get him at 50%. I think this is a guy maybe a team would look at next year to maybe get on a $1 or $1.5 million deal. He's a big guy. He needs to kind of get things figured out. I know watching a couple of games, the puck hits Demko, a rebound comes out, and Tyler Myers kind of looks like a giraffe on skates. It goes between him. He loses where he's to. Puck ends up in the back of the net. I know there was one play too where I think it was Pedersen's on the boards. Tyler Myers runs over, bulldozes his own teammate, falls on top of him, and gives up a 2-on-1. So in a vacuum, yes, I think Mars is good. I think he'd be a good sixth defenseman, but you kind of get shaky in the situation of you can't trust this guy too much.
You know the reason why I like Tyler Myers? If any of you in the chat has ever played an NHL game, Tyler Myers has been broken every single year because of his height. He goes out there and ruins people in the NHL video games, but obviously that doesn't contribute to his real life play. But that's the reason why I'm a fan of Tyler Myers. But I think he's a great defender. Like you said, sometimes he does bobble it a little bit, but every defender has that. Sometimes they blow a tire. Sometimes they give a bad touch pass, like a bad one touch. But shout out to Habs Digest in the chat right now. If you're looking for Montreal content, make sure to go over there and check them out. They're great as well. Let's just see what else we got here. Yeah, they said Atlantic is going to be tough. It definitely is, Mark. It's definitely going to be a rough one this year. And Daniel, there he is. He says, Hull leads the league in plus minus. I know Mark loves to hear that.
No, that's a hard one. I know I want to say is to Apache was saying Adam Henrique. I think he'd be a great ad for a third, fourth line center coming at Anaheim. I don't think it would cost too much to get him. Maybe if you wanted to dish out Holmberg and a pick, or maybe if you wanted to go to the route of Nick Robertson if they do end up moving him. I think he'd be a perfect guy to fill in the third, fourth line. I mean, he's a veteran in this league. He gets it done. He's looked great so far in his 34 season. So I think he'd be a great ad as well.
Yeah, I know we did touch on Vancouver a little bit. I know we talked about Tyler Mars, we talked about DeSmith and Demko, but they're having a great start to the year this year. 4-2 to start the season. Pedersen leading the team, 10 points, 2 goals, 8 assists. And I believe Brock Besser has 6 goals right now, leading the team. I think this is such a great team. Elias Pedersen, another one of my fantasy players, but he is having a great start to the year. I think this guy's obviously looking for a contract, and I think he's really proven that he deserves all this money. He's having a great start to the season. The Canucks are having a great start to the season, and let's get to see him back in the playoffs. Let's see him back make a deep playoff run, because I really love this Vancouver team. I've loved the Vancouver team my entire life. Roberto Luongo, guys like this. Marcus Naslund, if anybody remembers him, but obviously Vancouver has been one of my teams who I've kind of followed a little bit. I wouldn't say that they're my second favorite team, but it's been a team that I've followed for quite a while, and I'm really happy to see them start the season so successful this year.
Yeah, one of the first NHL games I seen live was actually the Vancouver Canucks playing St. Louis. Luongo had a big 4-0 shutout. So I kind of grew my passion for them. I have a lot of family in Vancouver, so that got pushed. Obviously, I'm a diehard Leafs. If it's Leafs versus Canucks on, I want the Leafs to win 20-0. But they're a fun team. Like you said, Pedersen looks incredible. If you just watch the highlights from the first game of the season, the passes he was throwing incredible. Just the overall game, like you said, you saw Brock. Garland's going to end up getting moved, and Demko looks incredible. And a guy like Hughes is, in my opinion, the second franchise player on that team between him and Pedersen.
Yeah, definitely. Obviously, the new captain. I think this team's gonna just be so successful. I think the GM there has done the right moves here. DeSmith, I can't believe that we let him go. I can't believe it. He's playing so well over there. But what's another goalie to Montreal? They got so many there now. I think so you had to let him go. You couldn't keep him, Primo, Montebo, and Jake Allen. You can't cluster up all the goalies. But like I said, that trade was amazing. Tanner Pearson is playing unreal. Really like that veteran line on Montreal. But I'm talking too much about Montreal here. We're going to go into the league leader in points, Jack Hughes, Quinn's brother. He's playing really good to start the year. 4 goals, 10 assists, Mark. This New Jersey team looks unreal. They did play Montreal last night. I did get a chance to watch that game. They look really good to start the season.
Oh, Jack Hughes looks incredible. Same with the New Jersey Devils, just outstanding all around. One of my favorite things to watch is the Jack Hughes slipping on a banana peel, is what they call it. Seems like once a game he just kind of, if you watch the Leafs game where TJ Brody kind of blew a tire, he does this once a game, so it's kind of fascinating just to see this guy. But overall, I think he's poised for maybe 120 points. He's the best offensive talent on New Jersey. And someone asked me recently was, is he a top 5 guy in the league? I think he's by far a top 5 center. You kind of have a guy like McDavid, Matthews, Draisaitl, McKinnon, and I think Hughes or Pedersen's one of those guys that could slide in a 5.
Yeah, definitely have to agree with you there. Just looking at the chat here, obviously they're saying Tyler Mars just won gold with Canada, so that's pretty cool. Congrats to him. Congrats to Canada, bring another gold home. And Pat G says Montreal is better than people think. That's what I like to hear, Pat G. That's what I like to hear. Obviously, he says they just need a goalie. Yeah, they kind of do, but they're getting by. They're getting by. But we're going to get to another goalie topic here, and that is Alexander Georgiev for the Colorado Avalanche has 6 wins to start the season so far.
Yeah, no, Colorado looks great. I know a friend of mine, Joey, shout out Joey, I think he's in this chat. He just, you look at this team, they're outstanding. A guy like McKinnon, Linenskog, who's not even playing, Rantanen looks great. Ryan Johansson, they picked up, currently playing second line center. He looks like an absolute steal in free agency. And Georgiev, of course, Cale Makar is the best defenseman in the league, hands down. So they seem like a team kind of poised to make it to the finals, make it to the Western Conference Finals for sure. Who would you have as your two teams making it to the finals in both divisions?
That's hard to say. I really do think that Colorado's gonna make it. I really want to see Vancouver make it. I don't know if that's possible, but I really want to see them. I don't think Edmonton's gonna make it. I think that's a hot take, but I don't think they're gonna make it this year. And in the East, man, I hate to say it, but I think Toronto. I think Toronto's gonna make it, and it's hard to say, man. Toronto, maybe. I don't know. I kind of want to go off the board here. I kind of want to say like Detroit or someone like that, but I don't know if that's possible. I don't know how it all works, but I'd like to see. This is what I would like to see. I like Toronto, Detroit, Avs, and who did I say? Vancouver. That's what I'm going with. And then I'm thinking Leafs, Avs, Cup final, and Avs in 7.
No way. I think it's going to be an interesting thing. I think it's almost open. I see teams in the West. You have like Dallas that looks great. Vegas looks incredible. They don't look like they're in their playoff hang or Stanley Cup hangover at all. A team like Colorado looks poised to make it. Vancouver, I'm hoping for. I could see maybe a mix of one of these four teams making the West. And my ideal matchup and what I think would be amazing for everyone to watch is maybe a New Jersey Toronto finals in the or Eastern Conference finals. And then, of course, the Leafs making the finals, winning in 4. Easy money.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be upset if the Leafs won. Like I've said here on the channel before, most of my friends and my dad is a Toronto Maple Leafs fan. So if one Canadian team wins, all of Canada wins is how I look at it. I'll be cheering for the Leafs if they're the only Canadian team left for sure.
Oh, for sure. I've seen someone in chat say, "What's your opinions on the Bruins?" Kind of talked about it. I thought they were going to have a down year. We'll go over it briefly. They're 6-0. They look incredible so far. It looks like they're on a mission to kind of revenge last year's season where they lost in 7 to Florida, which didn't expect to happen. I was kind of hoping a Toronto Boston matchup. I wanted to kind of fight my inner demons, get a game 7 between Toronto Boston in the TD Garden, finally come out with that win. But I think they look good. I think it's a team that's going to maybe be active trade deadline or throughout the season. But a guy like Pasta looks good. Like I said, the goalies are incredible. Charlie McAvoy looks great. And I think they're a team that's going to surprise a lot of people. They already have in a way of overdoing what people expected, but I think they're a team that can make a deep run once again.
Yeah, we always say we admit when we're wrong, and I know at the beginning of the year, man, I said that Boston wasn't even going to be a playoff team because Krejci and Bergeron were gone. I thought that Buffalo would edge them out here. And I don't know. I think that's kind of crazy to say it after they're off a 6-0 start. I thought Olmark would maybe regress a little bit. Obviously, he's not. I think he's, what, a 9.62 right now, second in the league in save percentage. So, I mean, I was completely wrong. But one thing I got to say about Boston that irks me, it grinds my gears, is that Brad Marchand is holding Connor Bedard along the boards on the bench. I don't know if you guys seen the clip. It grinds my gears. It really does. I hate seeing this. Oh man, I just not a Brad Marchand fan. And he's supposed to be the captain, Mark. He's supposed to be the captain, and he's holding this 18-year-old kid, holding him back from a line change. Like, what is this? It grinds my gears. I'm just gonna come out and say it. I mean, I'm. You might be able to tell here that I'm not a Brad Marchand fan, but that just really grinds my gears. I mean, this guy just came into the league. He's only like, what, 6 or 7 games in, and he's played Boston twice, and both times he's held him back from a line change.
With Brad Marchand, it's one of the situations as a Leafs fan we've seen Michael Bunting. He's the poor man's version, if you want to say, of Marchand, just a pesky guy. Obviously, Marchand's better in all aspects. But overall, I found it kind of funny. I know it's one of these things where it's like he's a rookie, leave him alone. But he's kind of getting in his head. It's the situation where you need to just show him that you're there. Tease him a bit, hold him back. I mean, this is the thing Marchand's known for. I'd love for him to be on the Leafs, and you just hate playing against him.
I want to see him drop the gloves. Bedard and Marchand, come on, make it happen. I'd buy a ticket to go watch Marchand Bedard fight, wouldn't you?
I mean, I think it would be kind of a fun fight. I mean, Berdard got big quads on him. He got big legs. He might have some strength to throw a punch, but Marchand's been around for so long. He'd probably lick his face or something, and the fight would be called off.
Yeah, something like that. I see the chat here. Let us know down below, guys. Just fire a few questions down there. We're open to answering any of your questions. Just fire them down there. Just looking at my notes here, we've pretty much gone through everything. And the the plus minus, we talked about Justin Holl, but he is tied with Braden McNabb and Quinn Hughes. We did talk about Quinn Hughes, but I just want to jump on the Vegas train for a minute. Vegas is my second team. You might call me a bandwagon because they won last year, but I've been a Vegas fan ever since they joined the league, and I know they went to the playoffs that year too. So you could call me a bandwagon if you want, but I mean, Vegas is playing unreal. Love what they do down there. Their in-game presentation is unreal. I really want to go to Vegas. Really want to see this night battle on the ice. It looks unreal down there. It just looks like a electric factory down there. Like they're sold out every game. They beat the drums. They wind the siren, man. It's like every experience you can ever get at a hockey game in one.
Yeah, no, that's the thing. You look at Vegas, like I said, they're not even on that hangover that a lot of teams get. You see them go far in the playoffs, win the cup, maybe party too hard, drink too many Kool-Aid jammers. And then when they come back the following season, they start sluggish. But you see this team, I mean, Jack Eichel's incredible. He's off to an amazing start. Mark Stone's great. Petrolangelo, you got Shea Theodore, who I'm a huge fan of. And just overall, the goalies, too. I mean, Logan Thompson, great. Aiden Hill just won him a cup. I think this is a team that's going to make another run. It's hard to, play this much last season and then, push for the finals again. But I could see them being a team to make the finals again. They're no joke. They're a contender. And just overall, the team they've built looks incredible. And I think it's a team that can compete for a couple more years without having to really lose too much.
Yeah, definitely I'd agree with you there. And Pat G's saying, "What's going on in Alberta? It's a madness." That's right. Obviously the Flames and the Oilers are having a bit of a rough patch here, but we do think they'll pick it up. We want to see as many Canadian teams in the playoffs as we can. Hopefully Montreal will be one of them because they're having a better start than Edmonton and Calgary.
That's the thing. You look at these two teams, I think they're going to have bounce backs. If I wanted one of them to not really make the playoffs, it's obviously the Flames. There's a lot of guys I've talked about, Zadorov being number one, that I want the Leafs to acquire. But you like to see as many Canadian teams. If every Canadian team like Winnipeg, Oilers, and all this just made the playoffs, I think it'd be outstanding.
Yeah, and Daniel's asking what jerseys behind you, Mark. Let him know.
Oh, that's I got a signed Wendell Clark jersey back there. It's not two in frame, but it's my prized possession. I love it. I got a fighting strap on it. So if I ever wanted to wear it out and someone had a problem, I can just strap that on.
Yeah, yeah. Do you don't want to flex on the viewers too much? I don't have a signed Wendell Clark jersey. Come on, but yeah, one team we haven't touched on yet, Mark, and that is the Winnipeg Jets. The Winnipeg Jets aren't having a bad start. 3-3. They're 500 right now. Scheifele leads in points and goals. He has 4 assists, or 4 goals, 7 points. Connor Morrissey, Josh Morrissey. He is having a great year this year. I think this guy is kind of underrated. He's kind of slept on every year.
Yeah, no, Josh Morrissey looks great. We kind of seen him come up while living in St. John's, Newfoundland, where he was on our AHL team. This is a guy that got promoted. He looks great. Number one defenseman. I mean, you look at Hellebuck, he got extended. He's having a bit of a shaky start, but overall, I think the team will get things situated. Gabe Vilardi just went down with an injury as well. So I think they do fix things, but I know there's a lot of things floating around too that they're having hard time just getting people in the stands. The attendance are low. So you don't know if this is really affecting the team mentally or what's happening here. But with this team, they just went all in on their two guys, with Shifley and Hellebuck. So you'd think they're going to start making moves if things don't work out, and just to keep pushing. We need the whiteout. We love watching the whiteout in game one when they play in the playoffs. The whole stadium's electric. So hopefully the attendance gets back. These guys get things on track. And like I said, if every Canadian team made the playoffs, I'd be happy.
Yeah, we don't want them to go away again. I love the Jets. Love those retro jerseys they're coming out with this year as well. I just really big on this team. Obviously, this is a team that is a contender in my eyes. I think they have a great roster. I know the day I was big on Winnipeg when Patrick Laine was there, one of my favorite players in the league. But I still enjoyed the Jets. I know Montreal did sweep them a few years back in the playoffs, so that was pretty fun to watch. But sorry if there's any Winnipeg fans there, but Winnipeg, obviously a great team. They got some great coaching down there, some great players. I really do think that this is going to be a Canadian team we do see in the playoffs this year.
Yeah, no, that's a big thing. I seen Patrick said retro Jets jerseys sounds like a great idea. I think they have great jerseys. I like a lot of the retro jerseys. The Jets kind of it's hard to explain, but with the anyways, the retro jerseys do look good. I want to see every Canadian team make it minus Montreal. That'd be hilarious if they're the one team that never pushed through.
I think everyone's going to make it. That's my bold take. I think every Canadian team is going to make it this year, but it's probably not going to happen if the Oilers don't pick it up. But we'll see what happens. But I really do think that, I'm a big fan of all the Canadian teams, even Toronto. I know you might say, why is he a fan of Toronto? But I am. I like Canadian teams. The Cup needs to come back to Canada. Come on. We need it. We need it. We need it right now. Come on. Bring it home. Bring it home. I don't care who it is. It's just bring it back to Canada. But I just really want to see it back in Canada. What about you, Mark?
Yeah, that's the big thing. Obviously, I want the Leafs to bring it home. Maybe Vancouver. I think there's a situation where there is a lot of teams. Like I said, the Oilers should be good. The Flames should be good. The Jets, the Canucks, the Leafs, the Sens. Montreal, not so much. Not trying to hate on them. But there's a lot of these teams that can make a bit of noise. And if you get a bunch of Canadian teams making it into the playoffs, the odds have to go up of us bringing the cup home. I know you look at teams like Vegas, Colorado, even just in the division of Boston, Tampa. These teams are going to compete, but there's so many up and coming Canadian teams that I think we do have a chance within the next 2 to 3 seasons, hopefully this year with the Leafs, but in the next 2 to 3 years to finally see the cup back in Canada and not where the joke is, oh, the cup's always in Toronto because it's in the Hall of Fame. But I think we're going to see a cup back, and I think it's going to be just a national holiday. It should be at this point.
Yeah, I really do think that out of all the Canadian teams, I really do think the one team who has the best chance to bring the cup back to Canada, hate to say it, but it is the Toronto Maple Leafs. They look unreal. I've really invested in this team since we started doing this YouTube channel. I'm really enjoying learning more about the Leafs, learning more about the NHL, and it just seems like they have such a great roster this year, great chemistry in the room, and I think it's just going to lead to such great success on the ice, and I'm calling it, Mark. It's the year. This is the year. Just like Wayne Gretzky said, this is the year for Toronto.
I say Oilers fans lost sleep hearing that quote earlier on. But like I said, the Leafs look great. They need to do a couple things, maybe an extra defenseman that's big, someone else in the bottom six, either scoring or just a centerman that you can kind of fill out for a deep run, like a veteran where you don't want to run maybe Holmberg the whole year. But I think the Leafs look good. I think this is the year. Classic delusional Leafs fan saying this, but I think, they got the taste of the second round, obviously lost to Florida. But I think this is the year they make noise, they make the conference finals, maybe make the finals. And I think once they do make the finals, I think they're going to take it. I think they'll be hungry. They want this. Pajama Boy and Tavares wants it. The whole city of Toronto wants it. Even the closet Leafs fans want this. The Leafs winning the cup would blow up social media.
Yeah, oh my God. Hey, imagine what the Raptors did when they won. Can you imagine what it's going to be like when the Leafs win it? It's going to be unreal. I'd just love to be in Toronto when that happens. It's going to be a crazy atmosphere down there. Obviously, the Raptors won. It was unreal. But I really do think any of these Toronto teams win. But I think when the Leafs win, I think it's just going to be so many years of disappointment lifted off Leafs fans' shoulder, lifted off the players' shoulders. And it's just going to be such a great experience. And if you're a Canadian, if you hate hate the Leafs, it's just going to be a day to remember because, I mean, the last time they did it was in 67. That is a long, long time ago. Sorry, but it is. But I really do think that they are going. It's going to be unreal there. I do think this is the year, Mark. I hate to say it, but it is. It's the year for the Toronto Maple Leafs to go far, and I really do think that they're going to beat Boston and sweep them in the playoffs this year.
That's the thing. I wanted to see them play Boston last year. I'm one of those guys where it's like, we got to slay the demons. We win the first round, want to face Boston, go to game seven, take the lead and keep the lead. I wanted to see it. When the Leafs do win the cup, I think I'm going to lose. Well, sorry, just age younger. I'm going to look like I'm 16 again. I'm in my 20s, but it seems like every year it's just this team makes me look older, and then eventually I got to look like I'm 16 again.
Yeah, definitely. Mark, I know Pat G saying join Leafs Nation. I'd say I'm an honorary Leafs Nation member, but I'm a obvious Habs fan. You know, Habs fan to the core. It's just the way I am, just the way I grew up. Love the Habs, but I do enjoy the Leafs as well. And I mean, Daniel's saying he's hearing that the Leafs are talking with Kane. I'm assuming he's talking about Patty Kane. We'll have to see about that. I know he's probably looking for a nice chunk of change there, but I don't know if Toronto will be able to make that happen, Mark. But it'd be cool if they did.
They Yeah, you might be able to get him on maybe a $1 million contract. I think he'd fit good, just a power play guy, a guy that could fill out the scoring. I know we've had recent struggles, almost where Minton got sent not down, but he was healthy scratched. It was just a situation of there wasn't enough offense out of this bottom six. I could see Kane coming in, maybe filling out that third line. Maybe you throw a guy like Nyes with them, a guy like Kempf, and just get the scoring with Kane. You can maybe bump Domi up, but then you get in the situation of where does Bertuzzi go, where does Jaron Croak go? But I think he's a guy that would fit. Another guy we keep talking about too is Jesse Puljujarvi. If you Google his name, you might see the workout video he recently put up after his two surgeries. He's looking great. His skating's looking good. And I think he's a guy with such a young age and just a high pick. I think he was drafted third overall, fourth overall, around this range. I think he's a guy that has untapped potential, where if he's put in the right market, I think he could be outstanding and finally get to that first round value.
Yeah, definitely have to agree with you. I'm a big believer in Puljujarvi. I think he's going to have a little redemption arc there. Oh, look at Sixers Digest down there to chat. Shout out Sixers Digest. Another one of the channels that are in our umbrella here. They're doing a great job down there with Sixers Digest. They kind of started the same time as us, and I guess we're kind of a little bit of a family with the Sixers Digest. We joined the same time. So shout out to you guys down there. And I mean, Pat G saying he likes the Bills and the Cowboys. But I mean, it's hard to like both of them, isn't it? The Bills and the Cowboys. Like, come on, like where the Finns at? Like, come on, where the Dolphins at? And yeah, it's crazy. Yeah, I don't understand what you're saying there. Like, Bills and Cowboys are two different teams, but like with your family, you kind of gotta follow them both. And that's kind of I've been watching Leafs games with my dad my entire life, and you know I'm obviously not a Toronto fan, but like I don't hate Toronto because I grew up watching Toronto, grew up watching Montreal. They're both Canadian teams. They're both teams I enjoy to watch. Why can't you like both, Mark? Why?
It's not that I hate Montreal. I like picking fights with them, obviously. It's just this rivalry. But overall, as a fan, I'm a fan of the Leafs. I love the Leafs. The Canucks are my second team. But most importantly, I'm just a hockey fan. If there's a random game on, I'm sitting down. It's Dallas versus Anaheim. I'll put it on. I just like watching hockey. I find the sport exciting. I do hope they grow a bit more. But just overall, it's an entertaining sport. It's fun to just watch these guys develop. You got a guy like Adam Fantilli going around in Columbus. He looks great. Watching his games are fun. You got Carlson over on the Ducks looking great. And just overall, I'm a hockey fan. Obviously, the Leafs are my main team. I don't really hate any team. I sometimes don't like the Habs, sometimes don't like the Bruins, but I think that's just a thing where you get competitive with teams and it just makes it more fun.
Yeah, and Daniel's saying, how would you feel about Quebec coming back? Obviously, the more Canadian teams, the better. Honestly, it seems like they're just going in the direction of the states right now. We need some more teams in Canada. We need a better chance. What do we got right now? Is it what 8 teams? 7 Canadian teams? Is it, Mark? 7? I mean, that's
Seven, I think, yeah.
7 of 32. Like, that's some bad odds for Canadian teams to win the cup. So why not one more? And I know the Nordiques weren't really around when I was watching hockey, but obviously I know the story of the Nordiques, like Forsberg and all these guys that played with the Nordiques. I know that Quebec City has a big fan base there, and I really do think that an NHL team would really fit there in Quebec City.
Yeah, no, for sure. I'm also seeing Habs Digest saying I'm a closet Leafs fan. I was about to say I own no Montreal stuff, but funny thing, we had a Secret Santa one year. I put in the chat, give me anything but a Habs merch. And my friend showed up with part of my gift being a Montreal Canadiens hat, so that is sitting around somewhere in this apartment.
Yeah, I knew you were a closet Habs fan, Mark. I could just tell it. You love the Habs. Come on, what can't you admit it?
No, I mean, I got my Leafs jersey there. I got a Leafs pitcher, Leafs hat, Leafs everything, couple Canucks things. But like I said, don't hate no teams, but definitely not a closet Habs fan.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, but it's been I really do think that I like the way the NHL is going right now. I really like the direction they're expanding. It's great for the league, just great for hockey in general. We're getting more teams, or getting more games, or getting more fans involved in hockey, and that's what we need. The sport needs to evolve in that direction. I know the money in hockey is starting to gradually go up, and that's soon going to increase player pay, which I'm a big supporter of. I really do think that hockey players need to be paid a bit more, but obviously just the way it is around the league. Obviously, NBA has so many more average watchers than hockey does, and it's just all the politics be inside of the business and whatever. I understand, but I really do think I really like back to what I'm saying. The NHL is moving in the right direction, and Mark, I know we're gonna touch on this a little bit here. The Frozen Frenzy last night. I think that was such an amazing thing that the NHL and Gary Bettman and all that. I know Gary Bettman gets a lot of criticism, but he has done some great things. He's brought hockey to Vegas. He's brought hockey to Seattle, two great markets. And I think he's moving in the right direction right now. And I just really do think that this Frozen Frenzy they did last night was amazing. 16 games, all teams playing in one night. We need more of that. My only thing that I'm gonna have another grinds my gears moment here, and that is that why couldn't we watch Frozen Frenzy in Canada? Come on, like at least let us subscribe to ESPN Plus for the month to watch Frozen Frenzy. I wanted to see this NFL Red Zone hockey. I was so hyped on it, we couldn't even watch it.
I seen a tweet. It was like, oh, all 75,000 fans in America could watch it, but the 2 million in Canada couldn't. I think the Frozen Frenzy is a really cool idea. I think, honestly, this could be a monthly thing, maybe once in a while, on a Tuesday, Wednesday, just have every team play. Everyone's happy. They enjoy this. It's just they need to open it more broader. The blackouts are hard for people to watch games. I know Leafs games are almost impossible to watch sometimes unless you have multiple packages. But I think the Frozen Frenzy is cool. I think they need to keep doing this. I think it would help grow the game. If you're someone that maybe doesn't watch a lot of hockey or doesn't know a bunch, what's better than watching every team play 15 minutes apart where it's hopping from just the high intensity moments, highlights. It's just the thing that needs to broaden the sport almost.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you. I really like the way that the whole NHL is moving right now. Like I said, with this Frozen Frenzy thing they did, I thought that was amazing. I think just the sport is growing as a whole, and it's great to see because the more people that are in the hockey, the better. And it just seems like the way it's going. Like we got like people like Charles Barkley said he'd rather sit down and watch an NHL playoff game than an NBA playoff game. This guy was an NBA player his whole life, and we got a lot like Pat McAfee, for instance. I know he was an NFL player. Now owns a successful podcast, a WWE commentator. It's done great with his career, but he has a segment on his podcast called "Hockey is Awesome." Like this is the way that we need to grow because a lot of people that watch, say, Pat McAfee are NFL fans or WWE fans, and people that like watch NBA on TNT are NBA fans. They like Charles Barkley, and when they hear these guys endorse the sport, it's only going to grow the sport, and then all the viewers are going to be like, maybe I'll sit down and watch a hockey game and see what it's all about. And I know when you watch a hockey game, it's no better feeling in the world. I think it's the best sport in the world. I love watching hockey. Obviously, I'm a big basketball fan as well, big baseball fan as well, but there's nothing better than sitting down watching a Stanley Cup playoff game. The atmosphere is insane. The intensity is high, and I feel like this is just kind of generating over into this season. I think every game has been so high energy, been so high intensity so far this season, and I just really like the way the league's moving. It's so great for the sport and just so great just for the hockey business in general.
If you want to read through a funny thing, I think it's Tony X on Twitter. He was a guy that never watched hockey. One night, I think he was randomly found a St. Louis playoff game, became a big fan of hockey. He was this random guy, never heard, well, I'm sure he heard of the sport, but never watched it. And it's just entertaining to see this guy that went from not knowing hockey to being a huge Blues fan. And I think the world almost needs more of this. It needs to be expanded to the point where everyone, not just in North America, but other countries, start to tune in. It's a sport that's entertaining, fun, fast, and I think it's something that could grow so much over the next couple of years, especially with expansions.
Yeah, I definitely have to agree with you. I think there are definitely going to be some expansions in the work over the next 10 years. It'd be interesting to see where those teams plays. I know Daniel said in the chat about Atlanta, and I know Atlanta has an ECHL team right now, the Gladiators, I believe their name is, and I believe they're doing very well down there. I think their attendance is great down there, and I think maybe we might see Atlanta back. I know they were there twice with the Flames, back with the Thrashers, but I do think Atlanta is a sports town. I think it is a hockey town as well.
I could see even another Ontario-based team. I don't know if Hamilton's big enough, but you look at the Leafs. As a Leafs fan, it's so hard to get Leafs tickets. It's so hard to really even afford the tickets. I mean, you look at the games, they're super expensive. So maybe you just push another team in Ontario. It might become a rivalry. Who would like a Hamilton versus Toronto matchup? You have these guys battling cheaper tickets in Hamilton, and then you have the powerhouse in the Leafs. I think, another Canadian team would be interesting to kind of push into the league, or a team like Atlanta, like you said.
Yeah, definitely have to agree with that. I see Pat G saying two Toronto teams. Can you imagine having two Toronto teams? But it would work. I think it would work really well, honestly. But I know there's a lot of Leafs fans that would never switch up to another team. But it'd be interesting to see what would happen there. But I do really agree with you. I think Ontario is a big place. I think it has the highest population in Canada. Correct me if I'm wrong here, but obviously you throw a team there in a high population area. There's going to be a nice little cozy fan base. Everybody in that town's just going to love and support that team, and then it's just going to grow globally, and it's just great. I love these expansion drafts too. They're amazing. I just like the way the format they are. I mean, you don't start off with nothing. You start off with, we see what Vegas did. They had drafted a great team, went to the cup final year one, and even Seattle right now, what are they, the third? Is the third year they're in the league right now, and they got a good little team over there too. So I mean, I really like the way that these expansion drafts are working, and that all these teams aren't starting out with nothing on day one.
Yeah, I'll never forget us letting Jarrett McCann go to save Justin Hull. I mean, defensemen are really valuable, but I mean, you look at McCann over in Seattle and he looks outstanding. But I'll give you a question. Almost a good way to segment out of this is, who is your favorite Leafs player?
My favorite
Other than
Leafs
Max
player.
Domi.
Other
Other than
okay,
Max
other than
Domi.
Max. Okay, you stole the words right out of my mouth. Man, that's a tough question. Um, who's my favorite Maple Leafs player? I think I gotta go with William Nylander. I really do like Willie. Obviously, still looking for extension. Hope he gets it. But I really think he's had. It's not just this year, just over the years. I know Montreal hasn't been in the playoffs last couple of years, so I've been tuning into Toronto. And just William Nylander's the best playoff performer on Toronto. He's great. He's clutch. I think he's the most clutch player on the team. And I just really like this guy. I really like his game. And I just like these European players. I just like the way they play the game. And I've like over watching Toronto for so many years now, we've kind of seen him develop from kind of a guy who was afraid to go into the corners, afraid to get hit, afraid to take a check, to a guy who's just flying into the corners now and just ripping around on a turn of a dime. And obviously that shot is amazing. I'm a big William Nylander fan, but Mark, I'm gonna throw it right back at you. Who's your favorite Montreal Canadiens player?
Well, this might take me a half an hour to answer. No, in actual sense, I think Nick Suzuki's fun. I do like him a lot. David Savard's a guy that for a while he was my favorite. It's really weird. I just like these grizzled just defensemen that block shots. Obviously, there's a lot of beef with him when in Toronto, where they kind of fought a lot when they played in the playoffs. But I think as my favorite, and it's gonna kind of hurt to say it, I like Arbor Jack guy. I mean, this guy got a shot from the point. He's a big physical guy. He didn't win that fight against Reeves. We need a rematch. That was just kind of a just throw a coin, whoever wins, whoever wins. But
Nobody won
I
that
think he's a
fight.
guy. No,
No.
he he's a physical guy. He has a good shot, and I think he's gonna have good development to be a top four guy from Montreal. So my weird answer is Arbor Jack guy.
Yeah, I'm a big Jack guy, big Wi-Fi guy. Even though I really don't like that nickname for him, I think I really like that guy. I mean, over the last couple of games I've been watching here to start the season, I know he's been out there on the power play a couple times, and he's not afraid to rip it from the point. And I like that in the defenseman. I like when they're in their ways enough that they can take a shot and not regret it. Because I know a lot of defensemen, especially younger defensemen, are afraid to shoot the puck, afraid to turn it over, afraid to let the puck go down the other end. And I just like this guy. Like I've said before on this channel, he reminds me of Alexei Emelin, one of my favorite Habs of all time. He just goes out there, he lays the bodies, smashes heads, and just plays on the power play too, which is unreal. But Mark, I know we've been going here for over an hour. I can't believe it. It's been we were like, okay, let's hop on for a half hour, talk to the chat, but you guys have got us for a half hour longer, and we really enjoyed this. I don't know about you, Mark, but I really had a good time here tonight.
Yeah, it's awesome just to engage with everyone. It's one thing of us doing a video and seeing you in the comments, which we try to answer as much as we can. We love the comments. We love seeing them engage. But just seeing you guys in real time, us being able to answer questions for you, just talk, it feels great. I know one thing we're going to look into is almost call-ins. So if you guys have any questions when we start doing live streams in the future, we might have call-ins so you guys can be on the air. But overall, this has been great. I love just interacting with you guys, like I said, and it means everything, just this community growing. This was just a podcast that me and Casey started where we just love sports. We love talking about hockey. So why not do it for people that enjoy listening?
Yeah, me and Mark have been talking about this ever since we became friends, really, and it kind of came into fruition this year. Shout out, I'm going to give him a shout out, Mark. I don't know if I'm allowed to, but shout out Ben Rogers. I mean, he kind of took us under his wing and really gave us a home to kind of, be ourselves, create this channel, connect with the community, connect with the hockey fans, give a voice back to the hockey fans, and I really enjoyed making these videos with you, Mark. And like you said, this live stream was unbelievable. It was nice seeing all you guys down there in the chat, just, especially Daniel, Pat G, some new faces as well down there. It's nice seeing you guys. Like Mark said, we always see it down in the comment section. When we're not recording, we're like, man, look, Pat G just commented, or Daniel just commented. We get so hyped when you guys comment on our videos. So we're building a great community here, and I mean, it's just unreal that you guys show so much support for us. I mean, when we started this, like Mark said, we weren't really expecting to grow right away, and we're like, what, over 2 months in now, and we're at 1,500 subscribers. We can't believe it. It's just unreal. We just it's just great experience for us. So we really appreciate all you guys, all your love and support. And as always, keep your stick on the ice. Oh, I gotta hit end.